to permit receiving support in order to learn, since the person in question, based on his local needs and conditions, would otherwise be unable to learn, and thereby benefit the larger community unless others support him. The person in question has made clear that the details of his life are such that he's not going to be able, without some support from the community, to devote any kind of serious time for learning. And then he asks this sort of consequentialist question on the Rambam's view. Could one possibly imagine that in this sort of situation, the Rambam would say that it's better to cling to ignorance all of one's life? Because I'm so principled that I have to work and make a living and never take anything from anyone else and never have communal structures of support for learning. I'm doing a great service to the Jewish people by not giving myself the tools to access my own birthright? That can't be, says the Dvar Shmuel. And therefore, he says, and here he says something I think quite striking, which is that there's actually a way to have your cake and eat it too, which is to have those who are at a phase and point in their life where they are devoting all of their time to learning Torah, to have their lives structured in a way that it is very transparent that the Torah that they are imbibing is directly fed back out to the community. And that Torah, Avodah, and Gmilut Chasadim, all of those basic works of learning and spiritual enrichment and the kind of kindness, the networks of support and chesed for one another that make a Jewish community what it ought to be, all of those things have to ultimately emanate from that core of learners. And then he says, Lezot tikarei Torah she'ena b'teila le'olam. That would be a Torah that really could actually last forever. I would submit to you, as we're all gathered here tonight, and we have the privilege of having the buzz of the Beit Midrash in this room with the range of people that are here, that the synthesis of this Rambam with his various interlocutors here is the challenge and the opportunity that stands before all of us in this room. This yeshiva, if it stands for anything, and you will hear more about this from Rav Shai in a minute, is here to promote Rambam's vision of Torah. That vision of Torah as an engine of spiritual meaning in real lives. Not some escapist furlough from the unpleasant realities of life, but actually a Torah that speaks to life as it is and informs it. But, and this is the real kicker, we, and I mean by we, all of us in this room, are also called to account by the Kesef Mishnah and the Yam Shel Shlomo here. Can we meet their challenge? Can we look in the mirror and say, yes, we as a community are actually doing all that it takes to make sure that Torah can be transmitted to the next generation? I'll put it even more starkly. Can the people in this room and those who look like us, who look like you and me and live lives like you and me, contently look at our place in the Jewish world and say, yes, if the burden fell only on us, we're confident that Torah would go forward with all its energy and glory, and that subsequent generations would look back on us the way we look back on those who came before us, as having truly safeguarded something for the future? I don't know that we can always answer yes to that question. And the Kesef Mishnah and the Yam Shel Shlomo effectively tell us, I think, we can have all the theories we want about what the individual good life of virtue is. There has to be a communal strategy at the end of the day that has enough self-confidence and self-sufficiency to guarantee that that Torah goes forward. To say, Chas v'shalom lo tishtakach Torah miYisrael, that God forbid, not on our watch did the enterprise of Torah go down. So what I'll end this teaching and thinking about these various texts, where we've reflected on what is work, what is its nature in our lives, how do we engage with it positively, negatively, and I would say then the even more harif, difficult question of what are we doing as a community to put forth a vision for how that Torah goes forward, I want to implore you to, with us and all of us in this room, to make that a reality. To have the Yam Shel Shlomo and the Kesef Mishneh's warnings ring in our ears as we think, how are we going to enable that future of Torah to happen? And there's two very important things, and actually quite simple things, that have to be done for that to happen. The first is, everyone in this room has to take on a commitment to learn. Everyone in this room has to be a guarantor for everyone else in this room, that on our watch, we will know that the person to our left and the person to our right was doing what they needed to do to perpetuate that Torah. For some people, that's downloading a podcast and listening to it on your way to work. For other people, it's having a regular chavruta, where you study with a partner at the level you're capable of. For others, it's actually devoting more extended times where you can go to learning environments like Yeshivat Hadar, places in Israel, and actually enriching yourself in the substance of our tradition. For some, it means taking on the obligation to teach in a way that those of us who teach know forces you to prepare in a way that without that kind of pressure, you may not always do on your own. And writ large, it means taking ownership of your learning, of our learning, and not expecting that anyone else is going to do that for you. Part of what this yeshiva stands for is the notion that Jewish learning is not the domain of professionals alone. Jewish learning is the birthright of everyone in this room, and that if we want to be those guarantors, we have to step up and do that. And the second piece is to support those who make those commitments to learn. And that support comes in all kinds of ways that I don't need to detail here. But to recognize that it doesn't just happen, and it also doesn't just happen because a bunch of Maimonidean, virtuous, inspired individuals work out their own individual work-Torah balance. It will ultimately happen because there's some kind of communal vision and strategy for how we can look ourselves in the eye and say, yes, when the moment was there, we did what needed to be done for Torah. So I leave you with that hope that not only is it possible to reconcile these texts, the Rambam and those who are in conversation with him, but it's actually a sacred necessity that they be reconciled if we want to live in the kind of world that we live in this space this evening, and we want to carry beyond.